Yo, people always ask me what kind of frames I'm rocking. I've been rocking Caddis for a couple years. They make amazing progressive readers, which I wear. Also, they make sunglass readers, anti-glare, anti-smudge coating, anti-scratch, and anti-aging. That's why I look mad young when I wear them. I'm just kidding. But they make amazing frames. Caddis, so stoked to have you guys part of the podcast. You can go to caddislife.com/Toby10 and get $10 off your first purchase. Stoked. Thank you, Caddis. Welcome to the fam. Yo, Liquid Death, thank you so much for hydrating all my guests, taking care of me and my family and my friends. Love your water, love your brand, love what you stand for, love what you give back to the community. If you want to learn more about Liquid Death and how it started, listen to episode 115 with the co-founder, owner, and creator of Liquid Death, Mike Cesario. Just a punk rock skateboarding kid from Delaware with a dream. It's an incredible story, incredible journey. They have now blessed me with my own code. So if you go liquiddeath.com/Toby, you get free shipping on any items you order from liquiddeath.com. Thank you so much, Liquid Death. Death to plastic, murder your thirst. Stay hydrated. You know H2O saves lives. Check. Welcome to the One Life and Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today I got my man from my brother from another mother back on the pod, Mr. Derek Green.
Back again.
Thank you so much for being here, bro. I really appreciate it. I'm going to miss you when we go on tour. We get back to life and reality.
When that will happen.
Whenever that's going to be.
Whenever that is.
And then in front of me, I haven't seen this man in a while. We know each other for a long time. Matt. I don't want to say the name, Matt Sanders, but I don't want to call it. I like M Shadows. I think that's badass. I like that name.
Shadows.
Shadows. It's cool. I like. It's weird calling your real name because I don't know, whatever. Anyway.
Matt Sanders is here.
Matt Sanders is in the house here.
Yeah, that sounds pretty normal. M Shadows sounds. M Shadows.
Yeah.
Where'd that name come from anyway?
You know what? Like
nickname shit. Whatever?
No, it's just when we were starting the band, we were looking up to a lot of other bands that had fake names, and we're like, we gotta have fake names.
Yeah.
And so we all, a couple of us already had names where like just from the crew, like calling people certain things, and then everyone else had to, get in line and had to. You couldn't have like Sam Smith or it's a famous person, but Sam Jefferson with Sinister Gates. Yeah.
Larry Jenkins.
So we all had to have names, but the only guy who didn't ever get a name because he's got a crazy enough name is Brooks Wackerman.
Well, that's a good name.
Brooks Wackerman is so perfect for drums, right?
Yeah,
it's like
Wackerman.
That's a good one.
Perfect.
Yeah, I definitely had that name as well. My first album, I was like, let's have a different name.
Yeah.
Mine was Simon Verde.
There you go.
What?
Nice.
In Sepultura for real?
No, not in Sepultura.
And what bands?
And Outface, my first band. I was like, we gotta have different names.
So this is the
Charlie Bucket, all these weird names.
But this is the problem. So unfortunately, our band started in high school, so all those seemed like good ideas.
Yeah.
And then we're still in the same band, so we're stuck with the names.
That's a good and bad thing.
It's a good and bad thing. Yes.
Yeah, because you don't seem like M Shadow's like it's like a dark kind of character, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of like more like a light.
I know you seem
chill.
Like it.
Yeah. I guess I was more angry when I was a younger kid. I guess.
Yeah.
We all were.
Okay,
we all
so
were, right?
you're going to be the first person we're going to have on. We're going to talk about NFTs for sure. We're getting into that because we have never had anybody on this podcast talking about NFTs yet to break them down.
Okay.
So we can talk about that first, but I want to definitely get into some of your history or whatever. So it's up to you how you want to flow it. But I know you're stoked on NFTs. I saw you out there with Bobby Hundreds with the GC dudes out there for some sort of showcase about NFTs or something, right?
Yeah, that was a NFT New York. So,
okay.
It's that's
you guys just dropped one too.
Throwing people into the fire here. Yeah, we did. We dropped one, and so I think there's a lot of misunderstandings about what blockchain does and what crypto really does, because you get kind of sidetracked by seeing things like Elon Musk texts and or emails, or tweets, and then you see Dogecoin, and they're kind of these pump and dumps. But the underlying technology of what blockchain does is actually pretty fascinating. Yeah. And the reason why a lot of very smart tech people are getting into this space, and they're trying to build protocols on it. And one thing that we saw was that there's a lot of utility that can be done not only digitally, but when you can own a digital asset, which blockchain allows you to do. Okay. There's a bunch of real world things you can do. And I think anybody with an audience should be trying to do this with their audience, because there's a lot of benefits for both.
Yeah.
And so, there's like a deeper layer beyond the let's buy a cute little character on and hold it on your MetaMask, and it's like, oh, look what I have, and I hope I'm not the last guy with this. Hope someone wants to pay more for it. Then
you kind of flip them, right? That's how it works.
People can flip them,
Okay.
But there's good examples of people like Gary Vee or the Bored Ape Yacht Club, where there's a lot of utility that comes with it. So for instance, if we're going to talk about New York, one of the things that we all went to was a thing called Ape Fest. And now you can't get an Ape Fest unless you have a Bored Ape. Okay. But at Ape Fest, everything's free. The booze is free.
You mean
the
your own
food's free.
ape character, correct?
You have to have your ape character, yes.
I see Travis has one of his things.
Yeah, so Travis just got one. And so, and then the people that performed that night was Chris Rock, The Strokes, Beck, The Baby. And so all these, you got this whole concert with all people that had to own
all
these.
diverse people.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. So, and they continually do things. So now they're teaming with Adidas, and you can't get these Adidas drops without the ape, and you can't get these. And so now Adidas is going to give you discounts if you have these certain things and you connect them together.
How do you get?
How do we get the ape? Yeah, I want to get the ape.
So the ape you get on a thing called OpenSea, which is like a quote unquote, we'll call it decentralized platform for now. There's a lot of things going on with it. But anyways, but apes right now, to get in the Bored Ape Yacht Club is probably around $400,000.
Damn!
Wait a second. For real?
Yeah.
That's how much you have to pay to get an ape?
Right now, yeah.
Holy.
Damn, son, we out for a while, bro.
And so this is where like the good and the bad come in, right? So
who's making the apes?
Yeah. So there's 10,000 apes. They were all minted, which means they were randomly put together once you minted them. So if we go back, what you do is you buy an ape on their website for 0.08 ETH, which at the time was around $300.
Okay.
And then it randomly assigns hats and cigars and whatever it's going to put on there, but it's done with an algorithm.
Okay.
And then you get whatever you're going to get. Now it could be a gold skin. It could be trippy ape, which is psychedelic skin. And you could, the rarity based on how much it hit like the right rarities.
Okay. Interesting.
At the time, like I minted my Bored Apes at the time, it went for months or like a month without selling out. And this was all very new, like in June or before June, just before June. And as people got in, they started seeing the team. So the team doesn't own any apes. That's the crazy part. It's all to the people.
I see.
Yeah. And now they get like a 2.5% kickback when you trade an ape. So so when Travis bought his ape, probably $400,000 or $500,000, they got 2.5% of that. And what they do with that is they put it back into the community by making Ape Coin, which is a crypto which they're going to put out. They throw these parties. They do merchandise collabs with the hundreds and with Adidas. And so then they start teaming up with other groups. And now it's actually, as this thing grows, people want to get in. And so you start seeing like Chappelle bought one and Jimmy Fallon bought one, and Eminem bought one, and Travis just bought one. And all of a sudden people are like, well, I want to be in that club.
Okay.
Yeah, and I bought one with the army hat. I saw that.
So there's a utility, but there's also a flex. And there's all these different things, right, that can go into it. Now, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, we have some that give you meet and greets for life. We have some that give you tickets for life. We're going to airdrop people that have their tokens a concert ticket, or not we actually did airdrop everybody concert tickets.
Wow.
People that came in, we airdropped them with a piece of art. Now, if they use the concert ticket, the art goes away. Not their bat, but the other art we gave them.
Gotcha.
Now, one thing you can do is as things build out into the sandbox, which is a metaverse, and you start having online concerts in the metaverse, so what Fortnite was doing, then these people are going to be allowed to have private rooms, and they're going to be able to have private parties because they have the token. They're going to be able to watch us have concerts in the metaverse. They're going to be able to get avatars and T-shirts that a concert ticket or a concert T-shirt in the metaverse.
Wow.
And then what we essentially want to do, and so I'm sorry, I'm throwing all this at you
No,
guys.
this is amazing.
And then we can kind of pick it all apart later.
Totally.
What we believe is going to start happening is you're going to start having decentralized streaming services on the blockchain. Okay. So say you're somebody that doesn't care about any of this and you just want to listen to the music, your life's not going to change. You're going to pay $9.99 a month. You're going to get all the music you want. If it's on the blockchain, though, we can see every time it gets played, and the money to the artist will go into their wallet within 24 hours or less.
Wow.
Instead of 9 months.
That's
and you know, we all like to go audit our labels and get the money they're hiding from us, and it's a big hassle. This will be seen on the blockchain. You see it all. There's nothing you can't. It's immutable. There's nodes all around the world, which we can get into how a blockchain is immutable, that are all authenticating these processes. So it's not hackable. Okay. Right. And so you see the blockchain go through, and now you go, okay, well, what do I need the label for, and what do I need Spotify for? So these cuts will be different. So now people like us, we all know we probably make maybe 20% of the money, and then it's like a fraction of a penny every time it gets played on Spotify. It goes through them. They have given the labels equity in the product because they need the back catalog. We get an even worse deal. And then it goes to our old deals, which is we make CDs, we give them get them into Best Buy. We get you on
Yeah.
MTV. They can't do that for us anymore because they don't exist. They take the same cut, and then we get these piddly little checks that are 9 months out from when the service happened. So what I believe is going to happen is that a better service will come out. Maybe it's Tidal, because I know Jack bought Tidal. Jack Dorsey, and he's doing stuff with Jay-Z, who they're very deep into crypto.
Okay.
I believe that the streaming will be the same for people that don't care. The money will be easily traced, and then we'll be able to go to our token holders and say, you know what, we're going to take 15 to 20% and we're going to fractionalize our publishing and our plays to you guys. And so all on smart contract, when we get paid, now we're getting the lion's share and we have more money to work with. And we say, well, 15% we're going to fractionalize to the 10,000 people that bought Deathbat tokens. So the longer you hold that token, the bigger the band gets, and the more you evangelize your groups, the people you like, you are going to get paid for everyone else listening. Wow, and so, this is why we're so deep into NFTs and blockchain, and it's not about flipping a bat or like going, oh, look, it costs $400,000. I'm cool. It's not like my Lambo. I'm trying to, you know what I mean? Like that, because that's what it's become. It's like the internet Lambos.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like Travis having that. It's like, it's a flex, right? But he understands it's also a part of the new culture that's coming.
Yeah.
And I believe there's some really good use cases that are going to take out a lot of middlemen. And then you look at finance, you look at your bus ticket, your concert ticket. Live Nation's already exploring this idea where you have, like, the Lakers are exploring it. I've been talking to Joey Buss about it, right? Where you go to a Laker game, you get a token that says you went there. You go to so many Laker games, they can prove it on the blockchain, and you get another reward because you're a dedicated customer.
Yeah.
And then you look at video games, right? So my kids spend lots of money, more than I'd like to admit on this podcast, with buying Fortnite skins.
Okay.
They cost $4.99, right? But they've got hundreds of them. And when that game goes away, they don't get to do anything with those skins. Those skins are gone.
Yeah.
Those skins basically live on a database that if they decide to shut down or my kids are over it, they never can do anything with them. If you add blockchain to those games, which people are doing now, then they'll pay $4.99 and they'll own it. And there'll be a marketplace where they say, you know, I'm not using this one anymore. I'll put it up for sale, maybe for less, maybe for more, but at least you get something back.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it goes one step further. And I've heard Mike Shinoda talk about this, and Bobby's talked about this a lot. If you're like Ninja, who's a big time gamer, right? Or if you're like Nade Shot or one of these guys that are a big time esports guy, and you win a championship, or you do a stream and you've got jersey 6755 and you win that championship, it's the equivalent to the young kids coming up as Michael Jordan hitting that game winner in game 6.
Gotcha.
And where did those shoes go? But now they're authenticated on the blockchain. They go, I want that particular jersey.
Wow.
I want that number. And there's only one of them. And that could go for extreme amounts of money, right?
Yeah.
And to those players, it's another way to sell a digital asset and to make money, and also to give people collectibles that never existed in Web 2. Because what Web 3 does is it allows you to have a true digital asset, which the internet we grew up with, everything was right click save. And there was no difference. There was no difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Now there's a difference.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's my my diatribes spewed everywhere.
Well, you just said I put a lot of money into my son building his Minecraft. Like, just he always buying stuff for that, or buying
really?
gems. Yeah,
yeah.
Using my iTunes, all my shit. Spending thousands of dollars since he was a kid.
God.
On these games, you get nothing back. He's right. He's put the money into it. Where's it go? It's so interesting. And then today it got postponed because the website crashed. Nas is dropping his first NFT where you get part of his royalties from his record sales.
That's
insane. So you get to own some of his royalties,
so
right?
let's unpack that for a second.
Yeah,
I think Blau and Chainsmokers and Deadmau5 and there's a lot of people in the EDM scene that are on the forefront of this, and their fans understand the technology, and it's a different vibe, right? Mm-hmm. They are going straight to, we're going to say, like, we all know that people are going around now and they're trying to buy publishing of artists. We've seen it in New York Times. We've seen all this, right?
David Bowie.
Yeah, all this, right? Now they're allowing the actual fans and the consumers to buy fractionalized versions of these catalogs.
Yeah.
And so their play is they're just going straight to the people that want to collect. And I love it, and I've been in contact with them, and I think it's cool. Our play is build the community, get them the tokens, give them the avatar stuff, this and that. And when we're ready, we're just going to start letting the streaming trickle down into their wallets to where they are just, as long as you hold the token, you are getting, so you're not buying a portion of the publishing, you are buying into the ecosystem that will continue to flood you with money as long as Avenged Sevenfold is still streaming.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, man.
And so just hold the token and you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
And that like freaks some people out. But to me, I'm like, I've been a dedicated listener to artists for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And these people act like this is some sort of money game. Well, by the way, all the money is going to a third party that doesn't give a shit about your band and does not give a shit about you. So somebody should be making the money.
Yeah.
Why not the band and why not you?
100%.
And so people get caught up on this, like, well, why should listen? I don't care. Why should listening to music make me money? I like the way it is. Cool. Then go listen on Spotify and let them make all the money.
Right.
Yeah. It's
Like,
true. Yeah.
There is money there. You are paying money.
Yeah.
Why not have it come back in some way? But people like to get, dug in, and it's weird.
So the Nas thing is kind of the first one to do that with the
No,
royalties thing?
so there's been experiments, right, where there's been like YouTubers and other people that have literally sold tokens, and there was no like mechanic for them really. So they were taking their USD, their royalties, and they were fractionalizing that, turning it into Ether, and then sending it to their followers.
Okay.
Now they're able to do it on chain, and now you have platforms arising that are saying, hey, we can actually benefit you as an artist and your fans better than Spotify and Apple Music.
Okay.
And so now they're starting to experiment with big artists. So Nas getting on is huge, right?
Huge.
And so like someone like us or like our bands, we're older groups, right? We've been around for a while.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make as much sense because you have to, it's almost like making, the way I attribute it is you're making a AAA film and then you don't put it on Netflix. You're like, oh, you got to go, you got to get our weird app and then you got to go to here and you got to do that. And so like right now it's not ready for artists like us, but we're dipping our toes in, right?
Yeah.
And so like, we can't be like next record, not on Spotify, not on Apple Music, but you got to go to Audius or Royal or whatever, and you got to download their thing, and then you got to get this blockchain thing.
Yeah.
But it's coming.
Right.
We all know it's coming quick, and it's like it's going to
Wow.
be here, and people are going to. And what's going to happen is people are going to be using those services, and they're not even going to know anything about blockchain or what it is, and that's fine. That's what you want it to be. It's mass adoption, right? But right now the hood's lifted up, and everyone's kind of saying, "Well, this is why it works, and this is why it's cool."
Yeah.
The same way we don't understand. I mean, all of us aren't experts in quantum mechanics, but we understand how these phones work.
Totally.
Right. And that's mass adoption, when you have that many phones, but we don't know exactly why you push certain buttons and it does something.
Right.
Right.
True, yeah.
And so that's where it's coming.
How did you even?
I was going to say that. How'd you get into
How did you
this?
get into it? Like, how did you learn about the mechanics of all this?
Well, I think, in 2015, I learned about Bitcoin, and
Okay.
and then 2016 Ethereum, and I started buying it, and I understood the idea of the concept of internet money.
Mm-hmm.
I spend a lot of time playing video games. I understand, they're just the idea of trading online is a lot easier than going through your bank or dealing with all these things. This is like before Venmo and all that stuff was really with fintech and all these things happening. And with Bitcoin, then I later found out, oh, this is why blockchain works. This is the problems that it solves. This is how they authenticate things. And then with Ethereum, I started hearing about smart contracts, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I understand that. And I understood why it couldn't be hacked. And people might comment and say like, well, there's 51%. There's all these little nuances, right? But it's unhackable in that sense. And so then for years I had all this crypto, but I had nothing I could do with it until last year. I started understanding and seeing CryptoPunks everywhere. They were talking about it at CNBC. They were talking about it, this collectible that was going for, at the time, like $100,000, and now they're in the 50 million, 60,
Jesus,
like the high. Now they've gone over this last year. And so I went, and I bought one, and I wanted to spend my Ethereum on something. And I was like, this is kind of scary. It's like spending that kind of money on this picture of a CryptoPunk.
Okay.
Yeah, I can show you on my phone.
CryptoPunk, they're called?
CryptoPunks. Yeah, they were the first. And again, there'll be people that go, oh, not the first. Yeah, they were the first PFP that became very successful. And so I bought one. I always was looking at it, and I was like, I actually feel really good about this. I like this. And they were going up in value. They were kind of playing around. They were around 13 ETH at the time. And then I bought some more, and I started collecting them. And then I went to a Laker game, and I was with some guys that I know. I've known them forever, but they're finance guys. Yeah. And they had their kids with them. And I was explaining, they were like, tell us about crypto. We were kind of scared to get in, like blah, blah, blah. And they've been talking to me about it for years, but never really got in. And I busted out the CryptoPunk, and they just didn't get it. And their kids are like, you got a CryptoPunk? Wow. And they all ran around. They grabbed my phone. They're showing it to everyone. This is a real CryptoPunk. It's real.
Wow.
And it clicked with me. I was like, The old guys are not going to get it.
They're not.
These guys are the ones that are going to take over that company, and they understand digital assets.
Yeah.
And they understand that a CryptoPunk and these things are real to them. They play video games. They live in that world where everything, you know, a t-shirt in this world might be just as valuable to what you're wearing in the metaverse because you're with your friends more sometimes.
Yeah.
Like your son in Minecraft. If you open that up and you have all of his friends in there, he wants to look fresh in Minecraft, you know, and he wants to build the cool shit. So he's paying for it.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter how we feel about it. All that matters is that the generation coming up is going to dictate what the culture decides is cool and not.
Yeah.
And they are clearly deciding that when you have $1 million Twitch streamers and you have Fortnite tournaments that are worth tens of millions of dollars, it is obviously something that they feel is important.
Yeah.
And it's going to continue to grow. And so with that, the Bored Apes came out and then they said, well, we're kind of like the CryptoPunks, but utility. We're going to make our own coin. We're going to have merch drops.
Damn.
We're going to be involved in this space. And all of a sudden it became this thing where it's like, oh, okay, like you have a Bored Ape, I have a Bored Ape. We're kind of like-minded. And then it started this community and it's turned into what it is.
Yeah.
But there's tons of these things happening. And so then again, in that time period is when I said, aha, we don't need to be some flipping weird little animated thing. We have a 20-year audience that we can bring into this ecosystem, and we have so much we can offer people.
Yeah.
And it's much easier for us to actually watch all these people on chain, airdrop them tickets, airdrop them POAPs, airdrop them digital merch, airdrop them these things instead of hiring a bunch of third parties that would have to deal with all that.
So true.
And so when people say, why don't you just do Patreon? Why don't you just do, we go, because it's way less efficient. And the consumer can sell their token whenever they want. You can't sell back your subscription on Patreon.
No,
you already
you
put the
can't.
money and it's over.
It's true.
Like you have a token that means something and you can go to another person and go, I don't want this anymore. I've met the band 10 times. Their music sucks now. And you can go, you know what I mean? And you go sell it to someone.
It's fucking crazy, man.
And so that's kind of where it all comes full circle.
Yeah. So can we say that the guy that bought that one Wu-Tang album was kind of is that kind of something like that? Because it wasn't physical. It was just the music. I don't know.
No, this is why that doesn't work, because nothing on the blockchain is walled off to where you can't hear it.
Okay.
Right.
So that guy took something and said, haha, I've got this. No one can hear it.
It's true.
If you go on my OpenSea account, every bit of music I've bought, everything I've done, like what they're doing with Nas, that shit's the way they're going to make money is by everybody listening. That's how the royalty is going to kick.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. And so like what people like get this thing where like, oh, you own it. Like, I can't believe you're going to put music behind a paywall or whatever it is.
Yeah.
An NFT wall. No, everybody's going to be able to enjoy these things. These are open ecosystems. And there's like that idea out there that, but that's where right click save comes from. Like, if you look at Travis's comments, a bunch of people are going, my ape now, you paid $400,000, you idiot. My ape now. It's like, yeah, but you can't get into the party. You can't get the merch.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You can't do it. Like, and they all like jump on it. And they go like, oh, we got him, and it's like, well, you didn't really get the ape.
Wow.
And so there's a big misconception with people where they think that they're really smarter than everybody that's buying NFTs.
Yeah.
When they don't understand, they're actually, they just look like they don't understand.
So you
NFTs.
got the ape. You got the ape?
I have apes, yeah.
So how do you authenticate it? Like, how is it like this is the real deal?
Yeah, that's
because it's on the blockchain. And so the blockchain, the way it works is the simplest way to put it is that they are putting bits of information into the hash of the blockchain.
Okay.
And all the other nodes, and think of them in China and Russia and Sweden, everywhere, they all have to agree that that's the one. And so once the information's written in there, it's very easy to track which one's the one. And so it's basically a picture on top of a piece of information that is stored into the blockchain.
I see.
Gotcha.
And so if you roll up with a picture, it does nothing.
Right.
If you roll up in the blockchain, it authenticates immediately through a thing called MetaMask, pops up on your computer and goes, yep, you own this. You can come in.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
and that's what we call Web3. Web3 is basically signing into a MetaMask at this point and being on chain. Web2 is anything for everyone at all times.
Right.
And so, yeah.
I know I saw the Eminem one a couple weeks ago. I was like, what is this? Is it art that somebody made of him wearing the army hat? But
Well, and that's always people go like, they're like, the art sucks. It's like, well, it's not even about the art.
Right.
It could literally be, a lot of tokens are just like literally a token that spin. And they're like, you are a part of this club.
Yeah.
The Bored Apes is fun because it adds an element of that flex, right? Where it's like, Eminem's got the hip hop jacket. He's got the pale white ape with the army hat. It looks like Eminem.
Yeah.
But then there's also ones that are like gold where there's only 46 of them and they go for millions of dollars because there's guys in Silicon Valley or guys that are in Europe and they're like, I want that as my avatar. People can prove that it's mine. And Twitter's going to start verifying NFTs, by the way.
Really?
Which is coming. Yeah. And so there'll be another check mark next to your NFT that's authenticated on the blockchain. So people can't just take it.
Right.
Now they can, but it won't have the check mark.
Right.
And
I saw
then
Nicky Diamonds had one. I'm starting to see people. Okay, now I'm getting it.
Yeah. And so,
Why does it have 8? Yeah.
but all those people are basically, that's like a calling card to other people who have the ape and they go, okay, I see you, you see me. We know what's up with this like Web3 thing. So right now there is a flex element, but there's also that utility element, right? And so our main focus has been to ignore the flex element, but to really focus on the utility element. But you see, like all the people with our Deathbats, they're following each other on Twitter, and they're in the Discord together, and they're helping each other with things. And you see people like when they're sick with COVID, and everyone's in there talking to them and helping them. And you have doctors, and you have people help, and it's like it's a community, and it's kind of one of these signals of like, hey, I see you, I'm a fan too, I'm in this club, and they all help each other.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's cool too,
Community,
but it's a community. Yeah.
You guys just dropped yours, right? Like
we did. We dropped them 1 month ago.
And what is it? I don't know what it is.
Well, they dropped their NFTs.
Yeah. So we dropped 10,000 Deathbats, which are our skull with wings.
Logo. Yeah.
And then so they when you mint them, they were 0.08. It's a pure bored ape model. You go to our website, our Web3 website, you mint it, and then you get an algorithm just starts mixing everything up, the skin that it has, the eye traits, the hair, the everything, and then it gives you a random one and that will never hit the same one twice. So every one of them is at 1 of 1.
Okay.
And then it sends it to you, and then you see what you got.
Okay.
And now there's speculators, right? They'll buy 20 of them. Like we cut it down to where you can only buy one, and now you can buy them on the secondary market.
And how much were they going for? Like one?
So we sold all of them because Ethereum is volatile with the US dollar.
Yeah.
So if we're speaking US dollars, they went from everywhere from $130 to $500.
Okay.
Within that time frame when they were selling out. And
You sold all 10,000.
Yeah. And so now I've seen them go up. There's been some that have sold for 15,000, 20,000. There's some that are selling for 170. Based on the rarity.
And so so the people that bought those, you can include that, like you said, like, okay, you can come to the show, backstage, special like merch.
We can drop anything we want.
Whatever you want.
Whatever they want. And it's
so
better than
if they own that, they can.
Yep.
Oh my God.
They own it.
Genius.
Fucking genius, man. Sepultura needs to do that.
I know, especially with our logo,
Yeah.
Like when you have a strong.
Yeah. Well, that's like the thing. When you have a strong logo, you can turn it into.
Yeah.
Like we turned ours into a little bit of little more cartoony because it works as an avatar.
Yeah,
so it's like kind of like fun, and there's like dopey eyes and stoned eyes and sad eyes, and they're but people want like ones that represent them.
Of course.
They're like, oh, that's like I smoke a lot of weed. That one's cool, and like and then we have psychedelic ones with like there's a mushroom in front of their mouth, and like people want those, and
damn.
Yeah, they're just, and so people try to trade and they try to buy up the ones they want, and then.
I'm gonna have to make a new H2O logo. Our shit's black. It's just
Definitely.
a varsity writing. And then you get like one of the album covers can come to life or something. The tattoo flash.
You have your own. I mean, you already have your own cartoon image.
I could do that too. Yeah.
You have a lot of different things. I mean, come on.
It's interesting.
This
you know some people that can help out with that.
Well, your friend Phil,
he creative. Shout out to Phil.
He did all of our stuff.
Oh, he did it all.
So I called him this summer and
did my children's book.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Phil. He created. Yes.
Yeah. So I called him and kind of explained the space.
He's
to
amazing.
him.
I love him.
And then we went through a bunch of iterations. He did so much work on ours. At first it was very 2D, then it became more 3D, and then he started working on things and he just kept coming up with great stuff and super easy to work with, and he's part of the scene, which was great.
Yes.
And then he understands it all, and so he was awesome. Yeah, he did all of our stuff.
Wow. So he helped design everything and stuff.
Yeah, I'll show you like a couple of things you can see.
I want to show you something too on this thing, but yeah, that's cool, right?
Super cool.
All right, so I definitely know some people that can help out, but somebody hit me up about maybe our label wants to do kind of like that, like something like that. Like
that's rad. Yeah,
you could do something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we have to step it up and get into it, Derek. I know we're in our 50s.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we talked about it, but I think the way that you explained it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were doing a seminar, my God.
Well,
you speak at the seminars?
I have been.
I was
yeah.
going to say, like people would be
It's like this, like a totally different
So these
career
are
for you.
different versions of the bat, right?
Oh yeah.
That's
love
like
it.
all gold. That's a
So
cool one.
That's sick.
Like
we're looking at the bats, ladies and
They're
gentlemen.
amazing. Yeah. Oh yeah.
they're just all random, right? This
right.
And Phil did all these with
Look
you.
at this one, GIMP.
Oh wow.
So there's only 6 GIMPs, so it's very rare. And I bought that one off the secondary. I bought it from a fan for an ETH.
You did?
Nice.
Yeah, because I wanted it. Like I
Holy
like.
shit!
And then
Oh my
see, they're all
God.
different. Like they're all.
I
like,
would have bought one.
And
Jesus.
Phil did these with you.
Phil did all these.
He did
Oh my
all
God,
those?
yo, Phil, you're
There's
amazing.
like a massive
And
amount
so you
of them.
you see how they all start off with the same look,
Yeah.
and then the skin will get put on, the hats, the vape pen. It's all different, right? Like so, then that's all genetically or randomized. It's all a generative randomized thing. And
Okay.
so what we do is we'll say like, okay, we like the rainbow grill, right?
Yeah, I love that
So
too.
we'll say we only want there to be 0.1% rainbow grill, and then we go through all of the I guess the assets, and
Yeah.
then we add them up to 100, and then you throw them in this randomizer, and then you just don't know what's going to come out. Some are garbage, some are amazing, and that's why you start getting this rarity of like people that want the clean ones or the really nice looking ones.
Right.
But that's
man.
another part of the game, right? There's so many aspects of what you could be interested in to want one of these.
Yeah.
It could just be that. Or it could be like, I really love the band and I want, and so here's the other cool thing that I haven't really mentioned much, but there's websites that are walled off with MetaMask, right? So if you own a token, MetaMask opens up and you can get into these websites. In the old internet, you could pass around passwords or you could authenticate
Right.
email addresses, but
Yeah.
you never really knows on the other side, and it can be shared. What we're going to start doing is leaking and teasing the new record. But if you have the token, you get into like a place where we are hosting all the videos ourselves. So they're not going to be on YouTube.
Gotcha.
They're going to be like on a decentralized platform. And basically, if you want to like go in and talk about the record or see what's happening behind the scenes, we're not going to release it to everybody. It's going to be token holders.
awesome.
And there's a whole website where you just get, like Bored Apes have it, where they have like a graffiti wall, right? And of course, there's a bunch of dicks on the wall. But but you can't go in there. You can't even see it unless you have a Bored Ape. And when you come in, the website pops up, says you don't have a Bored Ape, can't come in. If you have a Bored Ape, it instantly pops up. You sign in, it authenticates your ape, and then you go in. And so think about where you could take that
Right.
with anything, right?
Yeah.
And that's why people are excited about the space. They're not excited about dicks on the wall and the Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Yeah.
They're excited about, well, what can we do with this, and what can companies do with this, and what can communities do with this?
Yeah.
And so I think it's obviously I think it's exciting.
Yeah.
I can talk about it all day.
No, it's incredible, man. It's
Wow.
such a game changer.
Yeah, especially
Like a life
for
changer.
artists, musicians, finally having that connection of
Yeah.
straight to the fan.
Yeah.
Totally.
You know, no middle person, which is always got me excited.
Yeah, and we always had bad deals, right? And it's
Yeah,
like
of
if you really
course.
look at it, but the label was doing something, and I'm not saying they're not doing something now, and I'm not saying these are bad people. I think they're good people. They work in a we're all stuck in this system that isn't the best for us.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, we went from CDs to streaming, and that was very hard for the rock world.
Yeah.
Totally.
The rock world still hasn't adapted. If you look at the streaming numbers compared to every other type of genre, they have clearly taken the whole viral TikTok, streaming on Spotify numbers. I mean, it just blows us away.
Yeah.
Right. But one thing we're good at is building communities. We've built great communities. You go to an Iron Maiden show, you got grandfather, father, son,
True.
everyone.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
or when you like see like a guy on the street got a Slayer shirt,
Right.
you're like, okay, that's one of my people,
100%.
or whatever. Right.
Yeah, that's true.
And so one thing that the reason I've been so vocal about this, I never had social media until now.
Okay.
And the reason I've been so vocal about it is because I feel like our band is one of those bands that could make a difference and bring some people along to be on the forefront of some sort of technology that benefits rock artists.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to be anti everything. I mean, it's like
I agree.
we can build our own communities in our own walled off ecosystem, and we can have parties in the metaverse. We don't need to have Snoop Dogg and everyone having all the fun while we're sitting there grumpy about it.
Yeah.
and I just think it's like, I think this is a good opportunity to be on the forefront and like, listen, streaming decimated music consumption in terms of royalties for a long time.
Yeah.
And then it got itself figured out, but it was the same players got us into the same situation. And now is a time to give the power to the artist and give the power to the consumer. Now, think about if you're at Chain Reaction, 2001, Poison the Well rolls through, VOD rolls through, all these people, 18 Vision, everyone, right? You're watching this show. And they go, hey, we don't want to sign to a label because the deals suck. we're going to sell 1,500 NFTs and you participate in the growth of the band for not only this record, but whatever they want. Maybe the lifetime of the career, right?
Yeah.
And you do what Nas is doing, but you do it for a startup. And now the record has been paid for by the fans. The fans own a little piece and they feel like they want to evangelize it.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you have no masters. You have no label that's going to tell you, oh, well, you guys signed that deal and you guys get 24 cents on the dollar but it's really a penny. I just think the whole thing can be flipped on its head and it could be very beneficial to new artists. Because if I was at that show and I was savvy with this, I'd be like, I want all 3 of those tokens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will invest in, because what is it, a few $100? Mm-hmm. I won't buy the shirt this time. I'm going to invest in the band and basically pay for the record and hope that in the end, you guys keep growing. And by the way, I want you to grow, so I'm going to show all my friends your band.
Exactly.
So it's incredible. Like
you could be promoting that too.
Yeah.
All the fans promote it because they're
let's
part
say
of it.
Something comes up with the song or something, and for a movie or a commercial.
Yep.
So that goes to all the fans and the artists.
However you want it to go.
I see.
You can write the smart contract however you want, right?
Wow.
Damn.
Wow.
That's the cool thing about it. It's just a little bit of code, right? It's
right.
It's somebody sitting there. So we have a guy that we grew up with that left Silicon Valley. He was working at a cybersecurity, and then he got into Bitcoin, and then he quit his job to build out protocols on Web3. And so he built our whole thing for us, but I can call him at any time and be like, can we do this? And he figures it out.
Wow.
Right. And it's like, let's give those people this much or give them this. And you could do it. Yeah. So you're right. Like, what if a token holder becomes a big movie producer someday, and he knows if he puts that song in there, it's going to help all the token. I mean, there's so many funny, interesting things, right? He's like, oh, I'm going to help the community. Like, we're throwing this song in Transformers or whatever it is, you know, like, I mean, there's so many things that could happen that could fall out of this. And there's a lot of scamming and bullshit that happens too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It comes along with it, right?
So, but that's like anything, right? Look at the legacy banking system and look at, money laundering and washing, and it happens everywhere. But a lot of people like to attach it to crypto. When they've done studies, it's like less than 1% of Bitcoin is used in a fraudulent way, but people love to throw that out there. Like, oh, it's only for criminals, and it's it's just quicker, better, faster.
Have you always been like this, curious about things? Did you go to college and stuff? Like, what were you?
I didn't go to college. I've been curious about this stuff though, but my obsession with space and existential ideas I've kind of gone more towards this whole thing now. Yeah. But that's always been in our whole last record was based on artificial intelligence that's kind of coming, and then space. We had Neil deGrasse Tyson on the last record, did whole thing.
Holy shit.
And so we talked a lot about the cycle of humanity and it's a lot of absurdism, a lot of nothing really matters, and then kind of how this all started and why we're here, and then what we're doing while we're here, right? Which you have to kind of find your own purpose. Yeah. No one's going to hand you a purpose. You have to find your own purpose, because there really is no point unless you make a point. Yeah. And so a lot of people get to that point and they realize that, oh, it's actually better to be positive, to treat people in a good way and create happiness while you're here.
100%.
Most people get to that point, in my opinion. Like people that I know that have gone through those existential crises. Right. And I definitely went through my own thing, and then I realized that no one's going to hand you a purpose of life. You have to you have to do it yourself. Yeah. And I'm totally cool with that. Now I'm talking about cryptocurrency.
It's amazing, especially now, like the lockdowns and not being a tour and be connected with your fans and artists, and just it's a virtual. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it's especially now, because the world's so when it's going to happen next. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely kickstarted so many things, right?
Yeah,
kickstarted the online Zoom.
Oh yeah.
Sort of like let's have a meeting on Zoom or.
Just everything though.
Everything.
It's almost brought people closer together in a sense. I feel like. Because people really want to have that connection somehow, especially now, right?
Definitely in certain ways. And I think, I don't think we were ready for that pandemic in terms of the technology. And I think now you're going to see a lot of funding and people building stuff out so that when this happens again, or if it does happen again, the online experience is going to be better. Because, Zoom doesn't necessarily cut it for everyone. It's a lot of people kind of, one person talks, everyone sits there on a square. I think I've heard some better ideas, and I think they're going to be built. I think, it's going to be an interesting interesting next couple of years.
So you've been really, for the past couple of years, you really focused on this, especially with this downtime and all that.
I would say the NFT thing has been the last year.
Okay.
Because it really has come into, I think I got in right before, a few months before it just exploded.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And CryptoPunks came out in 2017.
Okay.
And it took me till 2020, end of 2020 to pay attention.
Okay.
And then from there, you went from a 10 ETH floor to 150 ETH floor within the last year.
Fuck. Okay.
And then, now it's like down a little bit because apes have kind of taken over the,
it's so crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but it shows what these things can do. But I think what bothers me is that the eyeballs and the opinions go straight to the flex and the amount of money they cost, and that art isn't even good, and it's like, it's irrelevant. It really is irrelevant. That's not why this technology is important.
Yeah.
That's just a use case. It's one use case that maybe you don't like, but there are other use cases that are going to come out of this that are pretty cool.
There's no chance that like Eminem and people like that are getting discounts. They have to pay $400 no matter what.
No. Yep.
Just to be like, yo, I'm part of this community. It's all official, right? Yeah.
Well, no, there's because all 10,000 apes are owned by holders. They don't have any apes to distribute. The people that created, in fact, they gave all the IP up to the apes.
Okay.
So we gave up the IP to all of our bats. And so we told everybody, we said, we want you to make your own merch. We want you to start your own bands, start coffee shops, do whatever you want. The ape or the bat is yours. And the apes were the ones that kind of showed us the way on that, because their whole point was that we don't care if Walmart buys an ape and sells a bunch. We think the more people do with this, the bigger it makes the community.
Yeah.
Right? We don't care if we're getting paid for it. Let everyone do what they want. And it's a whole new rethinking of what IP means, what copyright means. There's, Ashton and Mila Kunis did one called Stoner Cats, and they're building a whole TV show off it. Wow. And if you own the characters in the TV show, they're building TV shows based off of stories that the community writes. And it's like a whole
holy shit.
And another term we can get into is DAOs, which is decentralized autonomous organizations, which is where these companies start off. And this is what Bored Apes are doing. They start off centralized. They sell all these, they get the thing up and running, and then they give governance to the token, or they give governance and tokens and a currency to each individual ape, and then they back out and they're gone. And the community runs itself.
Okay.
And so that's what a lot of these things are doing. That's what Ethereum did. That's what Bitcoin is. That's why no one knows who Satoshi is.
Right.
Okay.
He had to disappear because he knew that's the only way for it to be truly decentralized.
Okay.
And so you start seeing there's reasons for all these things that these people have done. They really were pioneers of they knew that if they were around, people would be going like, hey, what do you want us to do with Bitcoin? Or can we do this? Or let's fork that, or let's do this. And he knew that he had to be gone.
Wow.
And so no one knows who the guy is. Right. And so it's literally just money for the people by the people. And that's what the Bored Apes are trying to do. And so, when you say could Eminem get a deal? Only if he called somebody or got in contact with someone that had an ape and said, do you want to sell Eminem your ape and it'll be cheap? But that's a one-on-one transaction. That's just
so nuts.
That's just like the market doing the market thing. But it's not from the Bored Apes. They're not cutting people deals.
Doesn't matter who you are. Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you are. The first people I saw in there was us, LaMelo Ball. He got in early. You know the basketball player? Yeah. So LaMelo Ball, Josh Hart was in there early. When these things were like half an ETH. And they were in the Discord.
What does half an ETH mean to people listening?
Half an Ether. So right now the floor is 80 Ether.
Okay.
Half an Ether would be about $1,500 to $2,000 right now.
Okay.
So at the time they were paying $1,000, $2,000 for an ape. But like LaMelo, things that kickstarted it was LaMelo putting it as his Twitter profile.
Okay.
Josh Hart putting it on his Instagram. And then, Tom Brady bought one at one point. There's a rumor that Britney Spears has one. And so that starts happening, right?
Yeah.
And Chappelle buys one, everyone just explodes, right? And then people are just trying to get him. So there's an element of that, but there's also at Ape Fest, we were at the coolest place you could be at. Free booze, free drinks, free food.
Where was that, East Coast or something?
It was in New York City at the Brooklyn.
Okay.
Something. It's 2,800 venue, 2,800 capacity.
I saw photos of you guys out there. What's going on?
And it was, the Strokes, the Baby, Beck, and Chris Rock host the thing. Wow. All free for holders. So to me, and then you see people walking around with the shirt, and you're like, that's my people, what's up? Bored Ape Yacht Club, And so there's that aspect to it, which is also fun. You know,
Yeah.
It's something that all of us bands kind of do with t-shirts, but it's like the next level of it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you know, that if you're in a meet and greet and someone rolls in with your coin and your token, you know how much work they've put in, how much they're contributing to the community. They're just a part of that ecosystem. And it's like, you want to do stuff for those people. Mm-hmm. Not saying that you don't want to do stuff for everybody, but everyone can't sit in the front row.
Yeah.
Everyone can't be in every meet and greet. Everyone can't buy every Sin custom guitar. Right.
Yeah.
This is like that thing where people that are just very dedicated to what you do can help build out the community.
Yeah.
And then you can do things for them.
Yeah, it's going to be such a game changer. We guys go back on tour again, having all this, and
yeah,
it's going to be awesome.
Totally. We also made it to where if you have a token, you don't have to wait in any lines.
Oh, wow.
So we have we have a dedicated entrance just for Deathbat token holders.
Wow.
So a lot of these kids can go out to a nice dinner. They don't have to worry
Rush
about
to the show, yeah,
and they just roll right into the show, or
first dibs at the
or
merch
first
too.
dibs, like
wow.
So like or first dibs into the concerts. A lot of them like to spend the night or whatever.
Yeah,
they're out there for hours. It's like, don't do that. If you can just like roll up at the time the doors open and boom, token.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah,
different tiers and shit, right?
Yeah, there's just cool things. Yeah, well, every token owns that.
Okay,
we gave that to every token. So our token, we wanted to be like the working man's token. Like every token is going to get every benefit, you know? And so we have a couple that are like tickets for life or meet and greets for life, but they're very few and far between. And we wanted some lucky kids to mint those, and they did.
Yeah.
People that don't have any money all of a sudden have tickets for life. Fuck. And it's kind of rad, right?
How much time a day do you spend with this kind of stuff? Or looking at it, or is it something you just think about all the time? And
too much. Too much. But yeah.
It's in your mind all day, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of ways to bring more value to the community. I'm watching the community, watching what they're doing, and I'm watching what's happening in the space. Because there's so many things like with tokenizing things, right? The apes are going to the SEC to make sure that it doesn't come off as a security.
Yeah.
So there's all these little nuances that we're trying to navigate because we want to introduce those things to our community.
Yeah.
Like, do you release a token that you can only buy band merch and that you can buy stuff in the metaverse, or do you release a token that you could transfer out to Ethereum and then go into USD? Now, to me, having a token that's backed by the US dollar and by crypto is way cooler.
Yeah.
Because then you can kind of come in and out on a thing called, or it's on your MetaMask, but it's a thing called Sushi Swap or Uniswap, and you can instantly transfer currencies. I think that's cooler than saying, okay, you kind of got funny money and you can kind of buy stuff in our store, but I kind of like the idea of like transferring in and out. And so those are SEC things that we're watching the apes and how they deal with it because they're doing everything right. They've got Guy Osiri managing them now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so
it's Madonna's manager.
Yeah, it's like next
Maverick
level.
Records,
yeah. And so we're watching what they're doing and we're going to try to implement these things. Like right now we're talking about starting a podcast where we talk about individual songs. Now everyone can listen to the podcast, but it's like a 1 hour thing that happens once a month, but we're going to mint an NFT that we give away to somebody every month. But the cool part is we're going to take a bunch of the royalties and fractionalize those out to the holders.
That's cool.
So if you want to be someone that's not a holder and listen, cool, it's free. But there will be royalties coming in and we will take the Deathbat holders and we'll give them those royalties.
Damn.
And so those are the kind of things we're thinking of.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of
nonstop. There's so many things you could do with it.
Yeah.
It's just a whole new world, literally.
Oh yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Fuck. All right. So let's take it back. I mean, were you like a great student?
No.
Like do you have straight A's and shit?
No, I probably could have, but I was a kid getting into
you didn't give a
Slayer
shit.
and Pantera and NoFX and Bad Religion, and I didn't give a shit.
Damn.
You
graduated though, right?
So I got my GED, but we were leaving for Warped Tour.
You're in high school in the band already, yeah.
High school. So Johnny, our bass,
right?
Huntington High School. And so
Fountain Valley, right?
Went to Huntington Beach High School.
Yeah, okay.
And it's in Huntington, yeah. And you know, our bass player, we pretty much ripped him out of going into his junior year. We said, you're going on tour. And then we were all in high school. And so the Rev and Sin and those guys, they had graduated the year before me because they're 1 year older. But me and Zachy were in high school still. Yeah. And then Johnny was in high school. So yeah, I graduated. But I went to the school of, Kevin Lyman Says Stage. So
Kevin Lyman Says Stage.
Yeah. And then I got to go, watch my idols every day, like watch Fat Mike and those guys, and
man,
and Bad Religion play every day, and Rancid, and just like
what year would that have been?
So the first year on Warped Tour was 2000 or 2001, and then we did the next 4 years, and yeah, like our whole thing was like we couldn't believe we were going to get to watch those bands every day. We were playing on the dirt stage.
Yeah, I remember that stage, man.
And yeah, we were just, you doing like everyone else. We were driving around in our van that one of our parents bought for us.
Yeah.
And then,
didn't your dad give you like a Guns N' Roses tape or something?
when I was very little, my dad was very into, and still is, but he's, he had all of the vinyl. He had Alice Cooper and the Beatles and Boston and all that stuff, Zeppelin. And then he was always very current. So he had Nevermind the day it came out, and Appetite for Destruction was like, he saw Welcome to the Jungle on Headbangers Ball before the record came out. Or maybe it was after the record came out, but then that was my tape. That was my go-to. I had a little Coca-Cola tape machine and just played that over and over and wait till the parents were gone so I could play the backside with like You're Crazy and all those songs with bad words.
Damn. Your dad must have been stoked when you guys actually played with Guns N' Roses too. That's crazy.
Oh,
dude.
totally. Yeah. And he got to meet those guys, and that was like, like huge for him,
So when you're in the band, then you graduate and you start touring basically.
Yeah, and that was it. We did it. It was just like we went off to tour.
But you had a band called Successful Failure.
Yeah,
that was your first band.
Successful Failure was when we were in grade school. So we had a punk band, and that was like from 6th to 8th grade.
That's young, dude. Fuck.
It was 7th to middle high school is what it was, and it was a pure punk band. It was based on Bad Religion, NoFX, those bands. So it was like everything Fat Records, Epitaph was like what we were being fed.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is we were into metal before that.
Okay.
And then we were into like all the like the Sepultura stuff and the Nail Bomb, and I mean, oh my God, like every Roadrunner band, every Nuclear Blast band, everything, right?
Yeah.
And then Pantera was big for us. And then we got into punk. When Punk and Drublic came out, we stole that record from Tower Records. We went, took a lighter and burned off the plastic, and that's how we would get our CDs. And then we'd do the clearinghouse thing, right? One penny, and then we'd send them to all of our neighbors. And we'd wait for the mailman because the box was too big. It wouldn't go in the house. They'd sit in the front pantry. We'd steal it, and we had all of our CDs.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So brilliant.
Yeah, there was no checking back then, right? They just you send a penny and you get 10 CDs, and we just go like Slayer, Nine Inch Nails, and we just get it off.
A collection agency sending you letters
so bad.
That's a sick scam. I like that.
Yeah, it was sick. And and then we got into like Queensryche and Testament, and I guess we were just into all that stuff. And then
everything,
And then in high school, I got into hardcore.
Okay.
I met all these hardcore kids. I met the 18 Visions guys and the Bleeding Through guys, and they were older than me. And I was like a freshman, and I rolled in there and I heard about H2O, and I heard about Sick of It All, and I heard about, the hardcore scene.
Yeah.
And so then I got obsessed with that. And then it was like, because metal was a little bit harder to relate to, and the shows were so big.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, Metallica's coming through with, Fight or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but you need your parents to like get you a ticket, or like at least figure out how to do Ticketmaster. You got to get a ride there. You're like a 14-year-old kid or 15-year-old kid. It's like just unattainable. Like that. But there was something about getting a group together and going down to Chain Reaction or Showcase Theater or the Roxy, and it was like we could handle that, right?
Yeah.
Those were our people. Right. Like those were all the kids from school, and like Earth Crisis is coming, we're gonna go see her, or like like VOD's coming, and they just blew up on that, the Green Droplet Records, it's crazy Showcase. So that was like our scene, like that was our thing.
That's cool. You like VOD, man. People don't really talk about that. Great.
Well, that record, Earth Crisis and VOD, it was like one of the first tours we did.
Yeah,
when I joined Sepultura in the U.S., and I was like, damn,
crazy. I mean, one of the first tours we did, we were doing weird ones. We had like. We got to know the God Forbid guys really well, like when that record came out, but we had a bunch of weird tours. Like we were touring with Mastodon a bunch, which they ended up being great, right?
Yeah.
Like they were great at the time, but it was us opening for Mastodon, who was opening for some band I can't remember, and then it was like 5.0. Remember 5.0?
I remember that name, yeah.
A Roadrunner band that was like rap rock. And there's like us, right?
I remember that. I'm sorry.
And then there was
that name, yeah.
Really?
And then before that, it was like all the emo bands we'd play with. We were playing with like a Trey, they're not emo, but it was like a Treyu and like From Mom to Ashes. And it was a lot of those like what were like the Thursday type bands.
Yeah.
Like those were the
Take
tours.
It Back Sunday.
Take It Back Sunday, like playing those type of tours, and we were always opening first, and we're not going over, right? Just like these dudes are wearing eyeliner and they got fake names and they're like playing metal. Like these guys, like what are they doing here? And then, like and then so we just never fit in.
When did you feel that you had your sound? Because you had all these mix of music,
diverse,
and
I know.
So when did you feel like this album? This is our personality. Like we've developed it. Like we have our sound.
I think every record has like its own thing, but then every record we've thrown out and then gone to something new, right?
Okay.
And that's like one thing that like we've always tried to evolve, and like we never want to repeat ourselves. And when we hear something that sounds like Avenged Sevenfold, we throw it out,
right?
Because that doesn't interest us.
Okay.
And people like they get really like, for some reason, very like emotional about that. Like it's like, why don't you just make a record that sounds like that? And it's like, because I don't want to waste my time doing that.
Right.
I want to explore myself.
Mm-hmm.
I want to explore where I can go and what I can do, and we want to be excited, right? Like I was excited when that happened 4 years ago or 20 years ago. And like, there's no way at 40 years old, I want to write that record that I wrote coming off the Warped Tour.
It's true.
It just doesn't, I wouldn't even be able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually amazed at looking at those records and going like, what were we thinking?
Right.
Which is rad. And I want to look back on the records we're doing now and think the same thing.
I get
like, what were you thinking?
I totally understand.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
I love that every record you kind of push yourself, right? Even singing different too.
Totally. Yep.
Did you take lessons from Melissa Cross, or was that somebody else?
No, that wasn't me, but
Screaming in Zen.
No, I don't do that, but
At one point you wanted to cut out the scream.
We had Ron Anderson, right? Is that the guy?
I had Ron. Ron just passed away.
Ron too.
Oh, he
Ron just passed away.
Yeah.
And,
oh wow.
Yeah.
But
rest in peace, Ron.
Rest in peace, Ron.
But here's the thing that I haven't really talked about much because we haven't played. But Ron was suffering some things the last few years. I think early onset of Alzheimer's and stuff. And I was having a vocal trouble.
Yeah.
And I knew that I couldn't get through it with that situation. It was just very hard to go from one lesson to another and continue on something that is simply forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's why the disease is so terrible.
Yeah.
And so one of my doctors was like, because I'd seen a couple doctors trying to figure out what was going on. He said, I really want you to go see Seth Riggs. And Seth has done, he does Stevie Wonder still and Lionel Richie, and it's more R&B, but it's very correct. And he's going to get you. And he did, the only rock singer I know that he really did is Chester.
Okay.
Brilliant singer.
Yes.
And so I've been going to Seth for the last 3 years.
Okay.
And he's unbelievable. Game changer. But I've never been with Melissa. I know that David Draymond speaks highly of her.
Yeah.
A lot of people do. It just hasn't been my,
we
haven't crossed paths.
Yeah. Yeah. So, because you do like 1 to 2 hour sets you guys were doing, right?
We're doing like 2.5, 2 hours.
Fuck, man.
So a lot of it is like guitar solo.
Yeah. Please.
So
I know that people are bored, but can you just keep noodling away?
Were you blowing your voice at times on tour? That's kind of kicked it off. Like,
well, it wasn't like anything from technique, and it's not a Ron thing. It's simply you have one bad night.
Yeah.
And then you got 3 shows the next day, or you got
true.
And then just that downhill spiral. It's like spraining your knee and you don't get to sit out.
Right. Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do. And then the next tour is booked and you got 2 weeks off and you're just sitting at home trying not to talk. And then it's shocked to go back out there again. You're trying to, the vocal cords are very tough. And so what we've done is we've just made it to where we won't play 2 in a row now.
Okay.
So we just,
sounds like heaven.
Yeah.
We just totally
like,
just can't do it. Right.
Yeah.
By the way, on Warped Tour, when we're playing 30-minute sets, it didn't matter.
Right.
And like I can knock out 30 minutes. And
Love
even
that.
if something happens, it's like, I only got to get through 30 minutes.
Right.
But it's
true.
But that last summer when I was having trouble, like stressed out and like messed up my body was just thinking about you have to get through 2.5 hours and you can't sing. Like I couldn't sing. There was a part of my cord that wasn't vibrating.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I was like, and it's like, and so like E, F, and G were unsingable, but I could sing above it and below it. But everything, as you know, starts in that range.
Yeah.
Like that was the range that was beat up as the notes I was hitting constantly. And I was probably pulling a little bit too much chest and not hitting the chord, evenly enough. But once that downhill slide starts, there's no getting out of it. And I was doing everything I could. And then, after getting off tour, then I got like laryngitis. I got all this stuff happen because of the infection that was happening.
Yeah.
And then I waited months and months, went to the doctor, and like, your cord's not vibrating. I'm like,
wow, fuck.
Okay, well, at least it makes sense.
Yeah.
You want some sort of answer, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy, like you said, like you just don't talk. People think You have to have the tea and the honey and all that stuff. But just not talking, that's the best way. And rest is so important on tour. And that's so hard to do on tour, man.
It can be hard, proper especially you have all your friends and everyone's around. Yeah. They want to
hang and talk after the show.
I do a good job of staying away, and people that meet me on tour think I'm a dick. There's no way around that, and there's nothing I can do because they don't understand. Like they'll be like, "Can we see him before the show?" No, like I can't get in a conversation with you before a show because it's as thick as the chords get before, and then I got to go up to like C, D, E. It's never gonna make it if I'm just talking to you. So I stay away from that, and then after the show, I'm usually warming down, and I want to go rest or like get out of there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Matt doesn't hang out." It's like, totally I don't fucking hang out. Sorry, I'm a singer. Yeah, totally like I'm not being a jerk. I can't do it.
Yeah, it's your fucking tool.
Or the next show's done. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you had surgery too. Was that a serious surgery?
So the surgery I had a surgery a long time ago. I haven't had anything since. Yeah. So that was it was the same doctor that I've been seeing now. That was to remove blood vessels that were continually popping in the middle range of the cord.
Wow.
So there was no nodule. There was no
nodules. Yeah.
So they were using like a laser they use on newborn babies that have spider veins.
Okay.
And so that guy, his name is Dr. Zeitel. He's the best. He's in Boston. He did the same thing to Adele. Steven Tyler has done multiple times. Ozzy. He's the guy to go to if anything happens. Like you go to him because he's got this laser that he's got it down.
Wow.
Just. Zzz.
So you have crazy long vocal warm-ups every night usually?
I was with Ron because there was so much scarring and stuff happening. And I think with Seth now, I think I'm in a place where I'm singing healthier. I'm singing in a better spot. Now, you and I, all of us know that goes out the window when you walk on stage, right? So I don't want to
if you're not doing it for a while, all of us.
Yeah. Well, that's why when the show's coming up, I'm going to have to really a month or I'm already doing it now, but like a month of like pretending I'm on stage, running around like to no audience and just something, right? Like, but we know that it's not the same. Yeah. Because as soon as you get out there, it's like, and then it's like, oh no, like
it's so true, man.
Yeah, it's so bad, yeah.
But it's so important, like even like staying, especially now, like staying in shape off the road because you're playing consecutive shows, you like getting your cardio, all that
stuff.
But
that adrenaline when it kicks in, like you said,
and you get in like super shape on the tour because usually I work out before the show, and then I get the whole show for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You're like,
we're like cardio, bro.
We're like athlete specimens out there. And then you come home and like COVID happens. I'm like dad bod.
Dude. And you were doing training with Adam too, which is cool.
I was training with Adam. Yeah.
So cool. He told me that.
He switched days on me though. So
he did?
He switched days on me.
Bastard.
He handed me off to someone else.
And so obviously the first record is 2001, right?
Yeah.
Then you guys just
recorded
grinding.
We recorded it in 99 or 2000, but it got re-released on Hopeless Records in 2001.
Damn, Hopeless Records. Wow.
Yeah.
I realized that.
So Hopeless Records heard it, bought it, or they bought our first record, got the second one. No. So yeah, first record they bought, re-released it 2001. And then we put out a record called Waking the Fallen on Hopeless Records. And then after that, we went to Warner Brothers.
Okay.
So you immediately from the second albums, you start to develop a fan base? Like
so we had sold 150,000 records on an independent label. So we did it on Hopeless. Yeah.
Especially back then too, dude.
Yeah, it was good.
Wow.
And then we started talking to all the labels and then they did a deal where I think Hopeless still has all of our vinyl rights. And then we did a deal with Warner, like a 7-record deal or whatever, those things we were talking about earlier. And
7 albums.
And your soul.
Got a big old signing bonus that I blew at the bar in the strip club like a week later. Back in the give a few grand to a 22-year-old.
Oh, fuck, man.
Yeah, I wasn't investing in Starbucks. So
were you like a party when you were younger, or like when you in the band? Were you like a wild kid and shit?
I was, if you put me up to any other standards, yes.
Okay.
If you put it up to the rest of the band, I was the normal chill one.
Okay.
Well, listen, the Rev, our beloved drummer, die of an overdose. The partying was extreme.
Yeah.
And so it was a wake up call to everyone else, but
I was going to ask
you don't want any fallen soldiers,
Yeah.
But those are things that you're not going to listen to anybody until something like that happens.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So you're a sober guy now?
Me?
Yeah.
I've never done drugs, so I'm not a drug guy.
Yeah.
But I drink alcohol. But and this is so funny, I actually did like a deep dive 5-MeO DMT experience. And after I did that, this was a couple of years ago. And it's funny because when I talk about DMT, I think of it as a medicine, not like it's a psychedelic, but it's like an ayahuasca sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And when I think of like cocaine and heroin, I think of that as a different thing.
Yes.
Yeah. But after that experience, I drink probably 1/8 as much as I used to.
Wow.
I literally have no interest in, like, I might go out and have a beer like socially.
Yeah.
And I'm instantly like, eh. And it's funny because I wasn't doing that for any problem I had. I was doing it more for exploration. We're talking about that existential sort of trying to figure out what this all is, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of people go to the Amazon and they try to cure addictions.
Yeah.
They try to cure smoking or cocaine or heroin or alcohol.
Right.
And usually it works. A lot of times it does. And I didn't have a problem. I literally might drink on the weekend a little bit. And now alcohol kind of makes me sick. Wow. I'm like, ugh. And it's interesting. It did something to me that I wasn't even looking for, but it was like, oh, okay. Like I see how people come out of that and go like, I don't want cigarettes anymore, or that doesn't interest me anymore. It definitely changes you, and it changes you in I think a more inward positive way.
Yeah.
But you have to find yourself after. It's not like there's the answers.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell did I just see? Like, what is reality? You know, like,
so what do you do something like that? You do it at home? What do you do when you do that? That experience, what do you have that at home?
So you can do that. You can go down to South America and do it, or Mexico. There's retreats here, and there's retreats, I think, at Joshua Tree. We had a group of people that flew in a shaman.
Oh, wow.
So we did it in Huntington at a place that was like an individual for each person. Everybody took, an hour, and you meditate.
Yeah.
You say what you want, like, like the purpose of what you're doing. And then she's on call a lot after, because you're,
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, because it's an experience that everyone comes out completely different. Like friends of ours that I won't name just because I don't know if they they came out and it was the most enlightening. They couldn't believe they were human. They were so grateful for life. They couldn't speak when they came out. They couldn't. I had a much tougher experience because I have a type A personality and I wasn't willing to let go. I saw myself dying. I saw the shaman putting me backwards, and I was watching myself leaving, and I was trying to hold on. And as you let go and it gets deeper into it, you see that was your ego.
Wow.
And as you come out and unpack, you're like, I have an ego problem. I need to not have that problem, and try to do it again and work on it. And I think these are only positive things.
Yeah.
Because the ego is very useful in the rat race that we find ourselves in. Get to the top, money, success, this and that, but it's very unuseful with things that should be useful.
Yeah.
Like when you're talking to your family, or you're spending time with your kids, or that guy flips you off on the freeway, or all these things in life that mean something. The ego is not good. It's a problem.
Yeah.
And so, but you need that mind shift and go, these things aren't important.
Yeah.
And these things are important. And I want to be more like this.
Yeah.
But I needed that experience to see that.
Mm-hmm. And shit kind of happened pretty fast for you guys. You guys were young too, in your 20s. Just like everything.
He's like, let's get off the psychedelics.
no. I'm just saying, like, I'm taking it back to where maybe you got in a crazy world before that it brought you out of that.
But you know what? It's funny because we all knew each other well before our 20s.
Yeah.
We met each other in like second grade.
Yeah. It's
and
amazing.
We were smoking cigarettes and trying drugs and drinking as soon as you could.
Right.
It was like we were talking about tits and girls and trying to steal pornos. And I remember we had to be 11, 12.
Yeah.
Stealing cigarettes and just trying all this stuff and waiting outside the liquor store to, can you buy us some booze, and bring it back to all of our friends, and then partying. So that whole thing had started well before. And it was, you know what it was? It was,
they had like best friends on tour, like selling records. And
friends. And there was like that whole group of people that we still hang out with. In fact, one of the guys that's building our NFTs is the guy that was from that group. Right.
Okay.
Like, but every weekend, all we wanted to do was go play video games. We could call a alcohol place that would actually drive it to us.
Wow.
And then the guy was like this little dude that didn't think to check our IDs. And every year or every week we just tip him big, and he'd bring boxes of alcohol, and we would just go drink in the park and hook up with the girls and drink and then go play video games. And that was like, years before the band. So of course, when the band starts, it's just like, oh, now we're going to travel the country and do this.
Right.
So yeah, it's just
So the band pretty much takes the second album you take off. Like that really takes it, the major label one.
Yeah,
because you had been building before that. You had a fan base.
So weird, right? Like that second album, it got the attention of people and it sold a bunch of records, but it wasn't like, it was like healthy crowds at the Warped Tour.
Yeah.
It went from nothing to healthy crowds.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, a household name. It wasn't like and then I think that happened more on City of Evil, and City of Evil came out and it was very much different than Waking the Fallen. And a lot of the people that liked hardcore metalcore didn't like that record. They were like, this is all metal. It's like a lot of dueling guitars and guitar solos, and we don't like, you guys, what's up with that? You were screaming half the time. Now there's no screaming. And then what catapulted us was TRL.
Oh.
So we had met Benji and Joel on the Warped Tour, and we'd been really good friends with them. And it was funny because they were kind of shunned by the pop punk crowd because they were big.
Yeah, man.
And they weren't NoFX or Bad Religion, but they were a band that took that formula and just exploded.
Totally.
And we were very friendly with them. We enjoyed them. We were friends with them. And they had an opportunity to take a band that was unknown on TRL.
Fuck.
And they ended up taking us.
Amazing.
And so we went on there, and after we were on TRL, Backcountry never left the number one spot for like months.
Wow.
And then that year we ended up winning Best New Artist against Rihanna and Chris Brown and everybody because of that video. But it really stemmed from Good Charlotte, those two dudes in particular, taking us on TRL. And so that was like the moment where it was like, everyone knows who you are, but you know how our scene is.
Yeah.
And it was, so we went that year, we got a call from Sharon to do Ozfest. So we were going to play right before System of a Down.
Damn.
And we went out there and it still seemed like no one knew who we were, or they were skeptical.
Yeah.
Like we went from 4 years of Warped Tour to this Ozfest play, and it was like very indifferent / like who are these guys?
Yeah.
Because that's a very legacy type of crowd.
It is, dude.
And so we understood then that we had a hell of a lot more work to do. Being on TRL as a metal band wasn't going to cut it. Right. And so then, we just went to work and just toured our butts off.
Yeah. Oh, I think Dan Smith said you wore one of his band shirts on there once or something.
Oh yeah. We would always, like trying to help friends out and like, we're going to be on this TV
like hardcore.
Yeah. Totally.
I remember we played Rock in Rio together.
Yeah.
And it was,
you did?
And Mike Portnoy was drumming for you guys.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
And I was like, oh, Mike. He's like, yeah, I'm filling in with these guys. And I was like, cool. And I was like, and I remember they're like, yeah, they're looking for a drummer. And then I was looking at our drummer. I was just like, you stay away from them. You stay away from
Was it you go back then?
It was Eloy, our
shit.
drummer that we have now. And I was like, and he knows the band. So he was like, and it kind of sounded, he was in a band that kind of sounded like Avenged Sevenfold, but before he was in Sepultura.
Oh, really?
And so I was like, yo, bro.
We were there scouting.
And I was like, you stay away from that. I was like, don't even let him near that or know that. And I was like,
totally.
oh my God. I was like a little bit worried. I was like, oh shit.
Well, we didn't go the tryout route or anything like that. Right. We were like, we wanted people that we knew. I'm choosing my words like in a couth way here.
Yeah, totally.
We knew it wasn't going to work out with Mike. We appreciated everything he had done. Mm-hmm. But when we decided to move on, we were like, we don't want to pull someone from a band. We don't want to get whatever.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we did tryouts, and these kids were like, they were people we found on YouTube and like saw like people playing our songs.
Oh wow!
And there's a big difference between rolling in.
Oh, I know.
And these guys were fine, but it was just like what we were used to. We were used to the Rev, and then we were used to Mike, and then we were like, these are kids, right? They're kids, and they're rolling.
It's nice
in.
you did that though.
So,
really nice.
So we had like, do you guys know Mike Fasano?
No,
so he's a drum tech.
Okay.
Like he probably did one of your records at some point. Okay. He does everybody, right? And he had this kid that his name was Aaron, and he thought he would be a good fit. We got him in there. It seemed fine, and then as we all know, the personalities emerge at some point, and it's not that he's a bad guy or that we're bad guys. It's just that that's not going to work,
100%,
right?
yeah.
And he was very religious, right? And you can't be in this band and be that because there's certain things that he wants to not do.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's girls in this music video. My wife said I can't be in it. Right? No.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
no.
Like stuff like that.
right,
like,
right.
and
You're in the wrong band, homie. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
yeah, and it's like, well, the girls aren't even on it. They're not
Yeah.
strippers or anything. They're just like,
It's,
like,
it's a video.
yeah, but I'm just going to sit
Right,
this one
yeah.
out. No, you're not. You're in the band.
Right.
And so there was a lot of things. And then when it came down to like really, like obviously you can hear that example and know that the examples will just go down the line of
Right.
things
Yeah.
that you just can't.
How long was he a part of it? Like,
So he did our Hail to the King record.
Oh, okay.
And
He was
so
on
he
the
was a
record.
part of it for like 3 or 4 years.
okay.
Yeah.
And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call up my favorite drummer that I watched every day on Warped Tour when he was playing with Bad Religion. And
Right.
I don't want to be a poacher because I know Bad Religion and they're friends of ours, but let's see what Brooks Wackerman's doing. And so I hit him up.
What are you up
and
to?
Yeah. Our tour manager, Dione, hit him up and we went out to
Oh,
dinner.
Dione.
Yeah.
Yes, I love him.
So Dione hit him up and we went to dinner and I was just like, listen, dude, like, I don't know what your situation. He's like, honestly, he's like Brooks' ability and then what he was playing in Bad Religion, every
Yeah.
song.
It's true.
And I was like, do you want to do something more or whatever? He's like, yeah, I'm ready to move on. Like I've played this part out.
Yeah.
I want to be more creative with my drumming and do this. So we got
perfect.
Brooks and it's been amazing ever since. I love Brooks. Great personality, amazing drummer. And he's just been great. But yeah,
awesome.
you know, it's,
Yeah.
yeah,
And he's from one of your childhood favorite bands too, like
Yeah.
Bad Religion. That's cool.
yeah.
People don't realize how much personality is so important to be in a band. It's not just like you can be the best drummer, but can
Right.
we all get along?
Yeah. There's
Totally.
a
And
And be on
connection
tour
is
together and live together and like
True.
Yeah, I mean, look at Ringo shutting the fuck up in that Beatles.
Oh yeah.
Just kidding. I know all the Ringo haters, but I mean, listen, he wasn't the greatest drummer,
yeah.
but he was playing his part.
Yeah.
and that is more important than the drummer that's like, I'm not playing that. I need to do this. I'm not doing this. We're doing. It's like you can't have a bunch of personalities that all want to lead the ship. It just doesn't
Right.
work. And you know, and that can make people salty, but it just has to work that way sometimes.
It's super
but-
important.
But we did that. Yeah, we did that. I remember watching you guys, and we did that show.
Rockin' Rio.
I think that was the first time
It was their first time playing.
it was the first time playing that show, but
Yeah.
that was the first time we realized that Slayer had a problem with us. So like,
Right.
What?
yeah.
What was going on?
We just had like, there was just this thing with them, like us playing after them just did not sit well with
Oh,
them.
that's right.
Oh, wow.
And
Oh,
so
shit.
we heard all the shit they were talking while we were playing. And then we played Rock in the Range, which we were headlining, and they were playing right before us. And they went around and like, I guess they like wrote 15 minutes of fame over our name everywhere.
Oh my gosh. Really?
But I remember that show specifically because that was a show that someone's like, yeah, like, I was sitting backstage and all the guys were talking shit on you guys while you're on stage. I'm like, okay.
That's a bum out. Because I'm sure you guys are definitely fans. Like, yeah, that's weird.
Big fan of Slayer, but stuff like that
Damn.
just doesn't bother me at this point. I
Right.
think it's funny. I think humans are humans. They have their right to
Yeah.
say whatever they want. It's not how I would be.
Right.
No.
I don't necessarily. I like new artists coming up. I think it keeps
too.
the genre fresh.
Me too,
Absolutely.
man.
Like we need
I
new
mean,
people
me
that can.
too, man.
Yeah,
I definitely agree.
I'm
I mean,
obsessed
I
with Turnstile right now. I love them.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like shit that's different than what we do, right? And
Yeah,
like,
me too,
I think people
man.
feel like if it's not in line with what they did, it's not right.
Especially that you guys are the new young guys, and you know
Totally, and they're doing a
similar
different
sound.
thing, different
Yeah.
vibe, different sound.
Did
Different
that happen a lot with you guys, or just them?
I'm sure it's happened a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's. You know, it's funny because like I know John from System really well now, and those guys, and he said even when we were playing with them at Ozfest, they just thought we were dicks. You know,
Oh,
like,
we did
Yeah.
a tour. It was Systems of a Down,
Yeah.
first album.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Us and Slayer.
yeah.
And so
Oh, that's fun.
they got.
You guys do
Wow.
picnics every day?
Ooh, man, those
Was that hard for you guys?
No, for us it was okay.
Yeah. You guys
For-
have the respect. You guys
yeah.
are. Yeah.
Oh, but for System.
them,
Yeah.
they were like, they got makeup on. I mean,
Oh, so they
people
first came out.
were radically
Yeah.
like, it was in Europe, and people were, I was like, wow, Europeans are usually nice, and they were
Yeah,
not
open-minded.
not nice.
No.
And those guys came up and played every night their asses off.
Yeah.
And
Even
then-
harder, I bet.
Even harder, and they got the respect.
Yeah.
From Slayer
Yep.
after like after the shows, and then we're all like hanging out and bonding. And I remember even joining the band, and one of the first things we did was this Tattoo the Earth.
I remember that.
I was like, why is this band Slipknot's headlining it?
Yeah.
I was like, Slayer.
Damn.
I was just like, Slayer should be the band, you know.
Yeah.
And then I saw Slipknot play,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh,
okay. Yeah.
I get it now. I was like, this is a totally different generation, totally new phase that's happening, and I was like, respect.
Yeah.
You got to respect that.
Totally.
You know? It's just like, and I think those guys in Slayer understood that after a while, you know. It was just like, okay, I see.
Yeah.
I
There's
see
new
what's
people
happening,
coming,
you know?
Yeah.
And
it's like that in hardcore too, in all kinds of genres, I'm sure.
I mean,
right?
they worked their ass off for that. But
Totally.
It was really, you know, that's why seeing those things happen, I was just like, I'm not going to do that. You know, I don't know, you know, who these guys are, what they've been through, you know.
None of that.
So
and a lot of them are inspired by all of our bands.
Absolutely.
That's the thing.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
there's what I've been meeting a lot of DJs now that are popular DJs, and they were going to Avenged Sevenfold shows their whole life.
Wow.
If I was to sit on Revolver magazine and talk shit on the whole genre or talk shit on all those people, it makes no sense, because those people were inspired, and they were because I wasn't inspired by one thing. I was inspired by all those different types of subgenres of rock, and it's like there's no point of. But you know, the older you get, and the more you realize you don't look cool being our age, talking shit on something like that. It's like, you might as well. It's a very high school thing.
Totally,
it's like
petty.
Absolutely,
it's petty.
Yeah,
It's petty.
yeah.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, dude, Skrillex was in like from first to last.
Oh yeah,
like
that guy was on our bus every day at work
hardcore
tour.
kid
Like
on
yeah.
That was incredible seeing that transformation.
We were always like, can we get Sonny off the bus? Like, he's on here every day, and then I know he's
hardcore kid.
Yeah.
Then, like fucking boom, Skrillex. That was amazing, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. But he was taking obviously from all of our genres.
Yeah.
Like that's what he was doing. He was making it something new for his generation.
Right.
Yeah. So you guys feel like you had to really earn your shit when you came out in that genre?
Oh, always.
Because it's not the hardcore punk genre. You're like in the metal rock.
Yeah.
Fucking...
I think the biggest tour that we had that was we did direct support for Iron Maiden in Europe, and that was
that audience is one of the toughest.
Oh my God,
Maiden audience.
Okay,
it's gnarly.
Listen to this.
Slayer audience.
Listen
Okay,
to this, dude. This is great, dude. There's probably a film of this. I've never looked it up because I don't. So we are playing first show with them. It's Italy, and it's a massive show. It's 100,000 people or something. It's crazy. It's a Maiden audience.
Yeah.
Was that the biggest crowd?
No.
Okay.
Every one of them was multiple nights at stadiums, and the stadiums were like opened up the back, like you could go out.
Yeah.
And the
Maiden,
like in Finland and stuff, and like Sweden, it's like even people that aren't going to the show are playing Iron Maiden everywhere, and they're wearing T-shirts everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
It's Iron Maiden Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fucking crazy. So we roll into Italy, and we're about to go on stage. Like I think it's like 5 minutes to showtime, and I hear sevenfold,
Wow.
sevenfold, but it's very light. And I'm thinking to myself, no, don't do that. And I shit you not, I hear a rumble, and I hear Maiden, just over, like as if a tidal wave just wiped out all of our fans, right? And so now they're pissed because there's Avenged Sevenfold fans. They're chanting Sevenfold at a Maiden show.
Holy shit.
We walk on, and this is gonna sound, it's not fucking, this is not a lie. We were getting
There's video people.
baguettes, salami. It sounds like I'm joking because it's Italy.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm getting like fresh produce thrown at us the whole show.
Holy fuck.
And we're just getting food and drinks and fucking the whole time we played.
Oh my God.
That was night one.
Dude.
And we're like, we get off and we're like, fuck, that was the Sevenfold fans that started that. They just shut their mouth and just let us play. And so then after that, like we all like got crazy haircuts. Like I shaved my head down. I'm like, I'm just pissed, Every night we went out there with an attitude, and we were like in their face. Like it wasn't like we're just here to play. It was like, no, we're here to like challenge you.
Yeah.
And every night it got better and better and better. And we didn't know how it would play out in the long run, but we went back to Europe, and then we went from clubs to arenas after that tour.
Dude, holy shit.
Like literal arenas. Like we weren't playing their stadiums, but we were selling out arenas everywhere. And I think it was the Maiden tour. And even though people had their arms crossed and there wasn't a lot of, but it was like, okay, like we weren't getting bread thrown at us the whole time.
Yeah.
Damn.
So it ended up being really good. And
That's amazing.
yeah, but those are tough crowds, right?
Those
How
are
about
like,
Guns N'
probably the
Roses
toughest.
crowds? Guns N' Roses crowds like that too?
they were very indifferent.
Yeah.
I don't think they're as passionate. Like,
Yeah.
that'll probably be a title on some clickbait, but
Nah.
I think Maiden fans are like, they're going to war.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Guns N' Roses fans that I think are very passionate, but I think there's a lot of casuals too, because if you look at Guns N' Roses, they have so many songs that branch outside the genre.
Totally.
You don't have people going there that are like, fucking die hard, you're gonna get this younger band.
Yeah.
Like you have people that are like, I like Welcome to the Jungle and Sweet Child of Mine.
Exactly.
And I don't really follow rock, but I love Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, you know the songs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think there's like different levels of hysteria when
For
you're talking
sure.
about bands, right?
And
we all know.
Is Iron Maiden original lineup too?
No,
but
for
Guns
a
N'
long-
Roses had so many
for a
changes.
long
Yeah, for a
time
long
there. Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Okay,
they're-
so that kind of makes sense
I mean,
too.
their
like,
fan base is really one of the strongest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hands down. I mean, I had a friend working with them, and he told us the same thing. We're playing in South America with them.
Yeah.
And they have a ridiculous following there.
Yeah.
You know, like from little babies to
Damn, little
adults.
babies.
Yeah.
You know, seriously, like rock
Yeah.
culture
Oh, yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
And I was like, oh boy,
Yeah.
here we go.
If
My
you don't
friend's
listen
like,
to, yeah.
just like before going on, he's like, good luck. He's like, these fans are the gnarliest. Maiden fans are
Yeah.
the gnarliest. They were so gnarly that this was a funny story. Like when they did the song, like I was sitting, I mean, we survived. I was like, thank God, you know, we're at least from South America.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that helps.
No acai
But-
bowls thrown at you.
right. Well, when they did the song, when they were doing Troopers, holy shit. It went from everyone just like, loving them, you know, just loud stadium, to people throwing shoes, all sorts of shit when they were doing that song.
Why?
I was
What's
like,
wrong with that
I was
song?
like, I was like, Bruce, please do not come out with that flag. And he came out with a fucking Union Jack flag,
Oh,
waving
shit.
around in Argentina.
Yeah.
This was the show, and I was like, oh, people were like not having it. They're like, throwing shit. And
That's
then,
funny.
And then after the
Dang.
song, back to basics. Like, we love you.
Well, what's wrong with Trooper? What is that? I'm not.
Well, it was
familiar.
the whole like thing that whole patriotism with the
Okay, okay,
flag, the
okay.
Union Jack, and there was that conflict that they had that happened years ago
Yeah.
with the
That's
islands.
so funny.
So they were just like, no, fuck that. You know, that was a whole like. There's a whole conflict that went on. I was like, ooh. I was like,
Well, you got to respect Bruce for going out there and just like, that's the show.
I was like,
Yeah, that's
really? I
ballsy.
was like,
That's
you're gonna
ballsy.
really come out there? And I was-
Dang.
We
with
had
that flag.
we had one in Mexico. Talking to Bad, we were opening for Metallica at that stadium
Oh,
for
sorry, Metallica.
3 shows, and we took the Iron Maiden approach where we're going to be aggressive towards these people, and you know, we got like a couple middle fingers at first, and then I started flipping them off, and then more people started flipping us off, and then it was like you know, the place probably held 60, 70,000. I think maybe 20,000 had their backs to us with their middle fingers in the air.
No way. Dude.
And then they turned around and started throwing batteries and pesos, and they hit our guitar player in the eye, and his eye was busted open.
Oh my God.
So we get off stage, and we're like kind of laughing about it because it's like, what are they going to do? Like,
Yeah.
like, next thing you know, security gets overrun. They just beat the shit out of us. No. And so we go back there, and James Hetfield comes in, and he's like, hey, man, like, you know, you just got to
Shit.
appreciate you guys sticking it out there, and like, it's going to get better, blah, blah. But then we had a night off, and like, we had to think about it for a whole night. Like,
Right.
do we got to do this twice more? Like, fuck
Holy
this. Like, should we just go home? Like, the next 2 nights ended up being better. I was less
You're right.
antagonistic, but it was pretty funny. Like, literally, the whole floor was fingers in the air, middle fingers in the air, and then they started throwing. We didn't know what it was at first, but we found out it was money,
Money.
pesos, pesos, and batteries.
Well, they had a whole thing before that they used to do in Argentina and in Chile, especially in Chile. They would spit on you if they like you. If they like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought the guys in my band were joking.
Yeah.
And we did a show with Metallica too, and it was like feeling it on my leg, all the
Oh
spit
my
hitting,
God,
and they were like,
dude.
if you say something, it gets worse.
Yeah.
It's
And,
fucking
and I was
disgusting.
like,
You just got to
I was
ignore
like,
it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, no, it's like a punk thing. Like,
Yeah.
like, yeah, they're spinning.
Yeah,
I
but
was
like we ain't punk.
I was like,
Yeah,
yo,
yeah.
and I was just, I was ignoring it, but I just
Yeah, yeah.
remember feeling like all these like
That's
just
fucking
on my. It was so.
disgusting.
Mike Patton went out in Chile, and I'll never forget this. And it was like a theater show, and they also the next day did like a huge show. He went out and he was like, hey, and it was years after the whole spitting thing. He was like, what happened to spitting? Start a song, start spitting on everyone. Everyone just starts spitting at
He
him.
was
on
spitting at
stage.
them too?
Oh yeah, and they were singing the song like, oh,
Dude, Patton's the best.
And
Pre-COVID-
then he was
pre-COVID.
walking around with his mouth open, like,
Oh
like,
my
and I was
God,
like, dude,
dude.
I was like, you are insane.
Yeah.
I was like, you're the sickest.
Dude, that's
I was like, you're
sick-
my favorite,
sick
but
human.
I've never seen anything, and people love him there because, I mean,
That is
but it
fucking
was
punk.
that was the most punk thing I have ever seen.
Beyond G.G. Allen. That's fucking.
Oh,
love
his
it.
suit was
I
just
love it.
layered
Collecting
with
spit in your mouth.
cookies and spit. He had like a nice suit on, and I was just like, and he walked like down like this runway, and everyone,
Oh.
him with his mouth open, giving the finger, like smiling,
That doesn't
singing,
sound fun to me,
singing
man.
the whole song. All the way
What
through.
band was he there with? Was it Faith No More?
Yeah, Faith No More.
Yeah,
Fuck.
that's amazing.
So
Amazing.
Yeah.
So how many years now? Avenged Sevenfold been around now? How many years?
I think,
By the way, my son's like, "Have you heard of this band? I really like them." I was a couple years ago. I'm like, "What? Those are my boys." Like, it's so my son.
dude, I met him at the airport 2 years ago.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's. He was so psyched. That's right.
so
dude.
funny. We've been we started in '99,
Yeah. No. Wow. Okay.
but
It's a long run. Yeah.
yeah, 23 years.
Yeah. And you still get inspired to make new music and all that stuff. And
Yeah, man. Again, it's just pushing the limits of ourselves.
Yeah.
That inspires me. I want to do different stuff and just hear different noises, and
yeah.
so that when that ends, then I'm
Yeah.
just gonna become an NFT trader.
Yeah, you are. And who else would you? I mean, you play Guns N' Roses, Metallica, or Maiden. Like, is there any other bands like that? Seems like who else you need to play with?